Hello again, guys. It's Gregola Productions here, back again with our Style 66 Westclox Spur series here. Today we have gotten we've gotten the case off here. Now we are just down to the movement. So what do we do from here? Why is the clock not running? Well, all these little pivots are filled up. These guys here are filled up with old, disgusting oil. The entire movement is also, like, there's oil stains all over this thing. Or maybe not stains, that's probably not a good word. Actually, there's a stain right there. There's old oil debris. Basically, this thing needs an oil change. How do we do that? We got to take the entire movement apart and clean it and put it back together. Don't worry, guys, it's not as scary as it sounds. But please watch the entire series before actually doing it. There's our bell. That's our actually alarm bell there. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually tighten those screws back up. There's 4 screws holding this guy together. There is the actual hairspring there. And there is a taper pin holding that in that controls the speed of the clock. So I'm just going to grab my needle nose pliers, or maybe some lineman's pliers if you have any. That's preferably have no grips, but if you have grips on them, that's not the end of the world. I'm going to go in here. Be very careful where the hairspring itself actually is, and not do what I just did right there. Actually, if I could stand it up like this. And yes, I've got a couple of wooden blocks here. These things help immensely with just working on this thing, because these knobs and stuff, right, they're sticking through the movement. If you lie this thing flat down on a table, it's not gonna lie flat. And if you're trying to work on it, it's not flat, it's just gonna go flippity flopping all over the place. So okay, so here we are again. Grab my needle nose pliers and just be very gentle, very careful. As you can see, that time they snapped together there. Yeah, sometimes these can be a nuisance. Okay, I preferably pull it out from the front, but sometimes that doesn't work. So I sometimes just lever it from the back there, or try to. Actually, you know what? No, the lineman's pliers with a grip, that might not be the worst thing to have right now. Yeah, if I pull from the top and slowly kind of wriggle it out. Yeah, there we go. Also pay very close attention to the way the hairspring is on there, or the way it's pinned. You want to pin it back the exact same way, or very close to it. There's our offset bend. It just goes through the regulator. You guys may have trouble getting your hairsprings back through the regulator when you're taking this apart. Just take a toothpick and just prod it. Whoops, that was not what I went. I just stuck my finger in there in the hairspring. Just take a toothpick and just prod it. Let me just actually grab one to show you what I'm talking about. Be very gentle, guys. Do not use force. Yeah, these things can be very, well, sort of fragile. There we go, that's 1,000 times better. Just kind of pushing it through our regulator there. Not being forceful at all. And there that goes. There it is. There's our hairspring unpinned there. And as for our taper pin, let's put that in the parts cup with everything else. And this is what I'm talking about, trying to lie the thing flat on the table. See that? The knob is just pushing it all over the place. So we just take 2 wooden blocks here and just have it like that. Perfectly fine. Let's unscrew the balance cup. There it is. Doesn't have to necessarily come out, but in this case it did. There's that. We'll put that aside. I'm gonna put that back in just so it doesn't get lost or anything. And now we come to the weird part that human beings have wondered how to do since the 1930s. This cam up here, the alarm cam, these things are pressed on. Both of these knobs are pressed on. How do we remove these knobs? Why do we even want to remove these knobs? If these knobs don't get removed, or if this mechanism doesn't get removed, the movement stays together, it will not come apart. And as for someone who's actually trying to take it apart, you can see there's a washer up in there. There's all this stuff. You know, this isn't coming apart with this on here. How in the world do we get this stuff apart? Well, I'll show you. I'll show you how I do it. There's different methods of doing it, but you know, more than one right answer for this particular thing. So if I just take a pair of cutting pliers, or actually I don't think that's the right name for them, this style here, try not to get over any of the pivots, and there's one there and one there. Do that, and what you want is a nice flat blade screwdriver, and this knob's pressed on too, hey. Don't just go in, this was me in 2019 when I first started working on these. Take a pair of lineman's pliers, just start pulling on it as hard as I can. Don't do that, you're gonna scratch up the knob and it doesn't work. You need to lever them off. A pair of pliers like that, get one blade, and you can see how the blades are angled on this. Just kind of open them like that. Make it so this can be levered off just like that. Whoops. And we've started it. Oh, come on. There it is. See that? Nice and easy. And there's our time setting knob. The alarm setting knob, if we try that again here, there's this leaf spring in the way, and that's really annoying. So here's what I've just decided to do. Not use this method. This method works most of the time, but I don't use it in this particular thing. In this particular scenario, I have to grab another tool. That is a stainless steel pry bar. Pry it up against the leaf spring and pry it off. There it is. Everything goes flying, but it comes off. And if you can figure out a way to do that less aggressive or just kind of, I don't know, in a neater way, by all means comment on that. So then all this stuff can come out. Remember there's a washer in here, you guys, so you don't want that to go like on the floor or something, get it lost. This mechanism here, I think that, oh yeah, okay, this does come off. And there's our washer. Let's put all that in the bin. Now we're home free. We've gotten all the annoying stuff off that blocks our way to disassemble it. So let's get this stuff apart. You know, I'm actually going to wear a pair of gloves because there is still a tiny little bit of spring power on this thing. I do not want that blowing up in my face. So, not that it will, but you never know. There's just a little bit. Oh, and actually, yeah, while I'm doing this, okay, here's how it all goes together. There's our pallet fork. Actually, let me turn the light on here. This is terrible. Okay, there it is. We've got our pallet fork. I hope you can see that. It's not really focusing all that well. Escape wheel, first wheel, or maybe that's the third wheel. Second, I don't know which order this goes in. There's our center wheel there. First wheel, second wheel, whatever wheel. That's the time train. And then there's our spring barrel. Or not a spring barrel, but our great wheel with a spring on it. No barrel for this style of movement. This movement was designed for, you know, cost-cutting reasons, so, or partially, I should say. And then kind of here, if I go back around again here, the great wheel here, there's our alarm train, these three wheels here, and these guys are just, they're not actually attached to our time train in any way, shape, or form. There's no reason for them to be. So they are just activated when the cam at the top, aka the cheese wheel as I like to call it, because it looks like a piece of cut cheese. That's right there. Trips the alarm. So let's pull this apart now, shall we? Oops, I was like my screwdriver does a backflip out of the shot. Alright, let's do this now. Yeah, this movement is from 1954. Huh. They're still using brass plates in these later on. I think it was in around 55 or 56. They changed these to brass. I know by 56 they were for sure, or not, oh, I'm sorry guys. I think it's either aluminum or steel. I'm not sure which one it is at the moment. I think it might be aluminum though. Or some kind of lower grade steel. Like, I'm not entirely sure. But either or, by 50, I think 55 was probably the last year of the brass plates, and then they changed it. And there's our alarm trip spring with a screw still in it. Again, all this stuff is going in the parts cup, guys. We don't want to lose any of it. And that just happened. Yeah, that's why we wear gloves, right? We don't want to get cut by any of this stuff. There's this. Great. I'm going to take the balance cup out, too. There it is. There's our center wheel, or that's our hour pipe. These wheels here are all part of this. Gonna put that away there. And there's our alarm hammer. The alarm escape wheel. This, and just pay attention here, guys, how this is all hooked on here, because I've managed to put a few mainsprings on backwards. Putting and moving back together and realize that it's winding the wrong way. Yeah, this is how it goes. You've got your riveted on, whatever you want to call this, the loop end mainspring. You've got that hooked on there. You've got that hooked on there. And since I accidentally dropped this, this is, oh, wait, no, I think we can fix it. Here we are. That's how that was hooked on as well. It's also a loop end mainspring. The later ones, they don't actually have this. And I'll just grab a later one here because I have one handy. Still not sure if that's aluminum or steel. They have a loop, but it's not a riveted loop. And what? This movement is suffering issues. What in the world? You know, there's rust on that. This was quote unquote serviced, although I might have to pull it apart again. Yeah, this mainspring has rust on it. Okay, well, we'll deal with that at some other point. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. And yeah, I think that is it for this. There's nothing else I really need to do here. I'll take these guys off. And these wheels, are these guys gonna want to come off? I'm not too picky if these wheels don't want to come off the shaft that they're on. And now I'm just curious if these springs will want to come off the great wheel shafts that they're on. I don't know if they will. Yeah. This here, as you can see, it's looped around this shaft here. It would be better to get in there for cleaning's sake, but I'm not sure if we need to or not. As I said, it would be better to go in there, but probably try and clean some of that out. I don't know. We'll play around with paper towel. You'll see how we clean all this stuff in a minute here, viewers. As for this piece here, this wheel is still on there. There's our cannon pinion. I am going to take the cannon pinion off because I don't want to work on it like this, where this is all assembled. It just makes it easier when putting it back together to have this apart, so. And also I can get under here and actually clean in there, under the pinion itself, because there is oil there, so. And I want to be able to re-oil that when this is done. So what I'm going to do is take a pair of needle nose pliers here, just go across like that. We're actually going to hammer this thing off using needle nose pliers. I'm going to hammer the actual joint of the plier itself, not the actual, you can see what I'm doing. You know what? I need a harder surface. I'm just making a hole in the wood. I think probably a nice brass surface would be better. This is a piece of steel right there. We're just gonna put our movement on there, balance it like that, take our plier, stick it in there, and not going too hard on it. There it is. Yeah, because you don't want to deform the front of this, the face on this staff here. This is where our minute hand goes on. We want to make sure the minute hand is able to stay on that and not get all messed up. It might be safer to use a piece of brass, actually, when doing that. Any hard surface will work, but yeah, that's a little scary sometimes because we don't want to screw up the front of that. And there's our cannon pinion. There we go. And also with all this stuff, we have our balance wheel and hairspring. The hairspring itself needs to come off. I don't want to have that hairspring in with the rest of the cleaning stuff. And that piece of hair has to go. Actual real dust there. Oh, look at the ends of those pivots. Wow, look at that old crusted on oil. That's what the clock was running with, you guys. Jeez, that's not healthy. I'm sure the other side, how's our other side doing? Oh, that looks cleaner. Still, this balance wheel needs to be cleaned up. So again, we're just going to use a few pieces of wood, stick it in there like that so it's flat. As I said, I want to get that hairspring off there. I don't want to clean it with it on there because the hairspring can get even more dirty if you clean it with the rest of the movement. Hairsprings really need to be cleaned on their own. And if I just take my pliers and just kind of use a flat blade again, we can actually just slowly get in there more and more. And oh shoot, guys, before you do this, make sure to document how high the hairspring is on the staff here. Obviously, that's not the original height, but yeah, that needs to be documented, because you don't want to put it back together and then just find the hairspring is like too high up on the staff or something to go on the regulator, the balance staff, that is. Yeah, and this collet here, you know, that makes it possible for the hairspring to be removed and also adjusted. So again, we'll just take our pliers here again and just pry that off very slowly, very gently. We don't want to wreck the hairspring. And there it is. I've done this a few times, so that's why I'm doing it like, you know, I can do it kind of quick. But there's that. Put that in the parts cup. Make sure it doesn't get bent while it's in there. And then our balance wheel's free and it can be cleaned now. Terrific. So this cleaning method here is subject to change, but this is what I do at the moment, as in September, October 2022. So what I like to do is always take all the parts, put them in this basket here, run them in the ultrasonic cleaner for 5-10 minutes. This substance here, this is literally dishwater. It's hot, soapy water with dish soap in it. I'm not even kidding. That's how I clean my clocks right now. There's absolutely nothing wrong with using dish soap and hot water. An ultrasonic cleaner also makes it really easy, and you know, it's a cheap cleaning solution. And the ultrasonic cleaner does a ton of the work, so that's great. Once they're in there for 5-10 minutes, I scrub them down with brushes. I've got brass wire brushes. I've got a toothbrush here. These are my gloves I wear when I do this. And then maybe I'll give them a little bit more time in the ultrasonic cleaner, but I usually never do. Then what I do is take them over. I put them in this cup, put like some of the parts in this cup, blow them off with a hair dryer till they're dry, or till they're more or less dry. Stick them on this piece of paper towel, and away we go. And there's a few, you know, I'm trying to keep everything from rusting. I don't really think anything will rust in this water. In brass and steel, more so the steel, but usually the brass doesn't, like, I've never seen brass rust in this stuff. So yeah, I gotta be quick about it, because I don't want any of the steel to develop any type of problem. And it doesn't if you're fairly, you know, careful with it. And yeah, it's fine. I'll kind of show you guys as I go, though. As for the really small pieces, I've got this like tea basket thing here. So what I do is put my kind of leaf spring and all that stuff in there. And I also like balance cups, cannon pinions. And then of course what happens next is I've got this little, like, well, I load all the bigger parts into this basket here, the ultrasonic basket. All the really small pieces that I want to clean, like the leaf spring, washer, balance cup, and cannon pinion, all go in this little container so they don't get lost. All this other hardware here, I don't usually clean it. The hairspring is subject to clean though sometimes. I'm gonna leave this one because that looks pretty good. And unlike the movement, you know, it doesn't have oil all over it, so I think we're just fine leaving that how that is. And on that note, viewers, this video is actually getting long enough, so I am going to cut to the next one, and we are going to continue on cleaning this thing. Thank you guys for stopping by.